Greetings to you all. The topic for today's meditation is Soldiers Who Cast Lots, as found on Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 27, verse 35, Gospel according to St. John, chapter 19, verse 24. Let us try to reimage the soldiers encountering the cross. On one hand, we see Jesus hanging on the cross, bruised, beaten, and bleeding. And on the other hand, we see the soldiers casting lots for the clothes of Jesus. We understand that Jesus had already given all that he had, but the soldiers are trying to take a little more from him. To extract the message behind this encounter, one has to look into the context of crucifixion. The life of a soldier in the Roman Empire was very straightforward: protect the empire, fight the battles, and follow the orders given. The ones who were at the crucifixion had mainly three jobs: carry out the execution, maintain the order, and make sure no one interferes with the execution. There are no incentives other than the possessions of the criminal or the victim at the time of the execution. Taking the victim's clothes, which was once a custom, had eventually become a right of the soldiers, was done to take away the remaining dignity and honor, if any was left, so that the victim is shattered and robbed even from the inside. Nakedness, according to Jewish tradition, is not acceptable in a social context. To be naked is to lose honor and modesty. In addition to this, a person who is a king, priest, or a rabbi, or any divine representative should not reveal themselves publicly as they were representing God. So, stripping Jesus' clothes is not only to make Jesus feel dishonored, shameful, and defenseless, but also to mock at the Jewish tradition. Since Jesus claimed himself to be the Son of God, making him go through this would show the crowd of the shame that the empire has brought upon the victim and his religious tradition. In this context, we see the soldiers dividing Jesus' clothes, casting lots to get the final piece of clothing, making this act a shameful mark against Jesus as it diminishes his value as an individual. I would like to explain it in 2 points. First, a baptismal experience. Jesus challenged the social construct, stereotypes, and the way in which the law was understood and misinterpreted during his time. He stood against the dominance of the religious heads who were using religion for their own selfish gain. He stood against the Roman Empire that created a facade of peace and security, all the while perpetuating suffering. Through his encounter with the Roman Empire, Jesus had undergone a baptismal experience in the sense that he went down taking on the empire and rose up victorious against the oppressing forces of the empire. His death on the cross had ignited a spark that would eventually change the course of history. During the same process, we see the centurion undergoing a different baptismal experience. He probably was one who changed his mind looking at the suffering of Jesus. He might have transformed at the point where he heard Jesus forgiving his persecutors from the cross even after undergoing such kind of suffering. Whichever might be the situation, the experience of Jesus' crucifixion has brought forward a transformation in the centurion. A transformation that made him believe in Jesus, his purpose, and his divinity, which eventually made him one of the first witnesses for Christ after his crucifixion. William Barclay writes, Jesus foretold the magnetic power of the cross, and the centurion was its first fruit. The cross had moved him to see the majesty of Jesus as nothing else had been able to do. Second, to unclothe is to cover. On the contrary, we see the soldiers stripping Jesus of his dignity. Though Jesus was undergoing such torture, pain, and humiliation, he still chose to forgive the soldiers. When he was stripped naked, he was asked to give the last of his possessions out of his nothingness. Jesus, at that point, had lost everything except for the clothes that were covering his bruised body before he died. He let them take away the clothes along with everything that they have forcefully taken from him, setting an example for what he preached during the Sermon on the Mount, which is to give away everything when someone wants it from you. To give what you have, even if you are left with nothing, is acknowledged by Jesus when the widow was offering at the temple. Through this instant of being stripped, Jesus is teaching us to even give what is rightfully ours, so that through the act of giving what we have, we are giving something to people that do not have anything. The Lenten aspects of generosity, forgiveness, are both highlighted in the single incident. The unclothing of Jesus has covered not only the soldiers but the entire world with forgiveness. We see such similarities in the life of Gandhi, who followed the teachings of Jesus. Gandhi unclothed himself to cover the differences between the haves and the have nots. He, becoming naked, has covered the nakedness of people and made him equal to them. This equality, achieved through his attitude of sacrificing, has made him a leader to one of the greatest revolutions against an empire. In our society today, we see many atrocities happening around us based on religion, caste, sex, honor, and so on. The oppressed and the underprivileged are victimized again and again each and every day. People around us are being stripped off from their basic rights and privileges. We see power structures forcing the oppressed and victimized to further undergo suffering, experience shame, and feel defenseless. The culprit is most often left out, and the innocent is victimized and punished. The powerful are always abusing the power and are making the innocent suffer. In this context, the church should become the re-imaging factor to change this situation. We, the church, should be willing to unclothe ourselves from our comfort zones and step forward so that we would be able to cover up the naked around us. In the nakedness of the church, there should be a satisfaction that comes by generously providing support to the oppressed, equality to the underprivileged, dignity to the victimized, and by forgiving the other, so that through our nakedness, Christ and the cross can be. We, the church, should undergo this baptismal experience to demonstrate an unbelievable capability of resisting, fighting against, and winning over the oppression, taking Jesus as a role model. The encountering of the cross should make us leave our old selves and transform us into people who stand for love, forgiveness, peace, and justice. Let us pray. A God who personifies forgiveness and establishes justice, help us to experience the cross in a way that would baptize us into people of love, compassion, forgiveness, and self sacrifice. Help us to clothe ourselves out of these disguises that we have created for ourselves so that we would be instrumental in establishing equality, peace, and justice around us. Amen.